my second story of pointlessness. It involves the largest reptile in the United Kingdom that we can find in the wild as opposed to in the zoo. So this involves the largest reptile in the United Kingdom that you would find in the wild as opposed to in the zoo. Are you with me? The story, which involves the largest reptile in the United Kingdom. Great structure. What do you call that structure? Exactly, that's a superlative. It's a superlative, as I used to call them. The largest reptile in the United Kingdom that you could find in the wild, as opposed to in the zoo, which is, bet you don't know. What did you say? Loch Ness. Nessie Loch Ness. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start this story again. This story involves the second largest reptile. What is it? What is the second largest reptile in the United Kingdom? Yeah, somebody said a snake. What kind of snake? An adder. Well, my source here is Wikipedia. And according to Wikipedia, the largest reptile, second largest, in the United Kingdom in the wild is a grass snake. How big do you think the female grows to? Guess. 10 centimeters. Did you say? Is that what? 80 centimeters. The female is capable of growing to 80 centimeters. The male? 60 centimeters. So in the world of grass snakes, males are smaller than females. I have no idea what that means. But now the funny thing is about this is that who speaks Spanish? In Spanish, and when I'm doing teacher-led storytelling, and this is the kind of thing I like to do in the classroom, stories that are interactive, asking questions, driving discussion, putting students into pairs, all in this framework of this narrative. And one of the things I do a lot is to use translation. For example, I might say, how would you say in English, yo tenía un grass snake de mascota? How would you say that in English? You could say, I had a pet grass snake. What I've written down on here is, yes, do you remember that structure? What day did we do that structure? I used to have a pet grass snake. It's true. I used to have a pet grass snake. And I've got some more questions for you. What do you think would be a good name for a pet grass snake? Sorry? Grassy. Grassy, like the dog Lassie, but this is grassy. Yes. Do you remember Monty Python? When I was a little boy, and I was only 8 years old when I had my pet grass snake, I used to think that Monty Python was a famous snake. I really, really did. This is before my dad introduced me to the fish slapping dance. So when I got my pet grass snake for my birthday, there was only one name for him. He was called Monty Grass Snake. It's true. What color was he? Can you guess? Now, some grass snakes are brown. Mine was green and black. Green and black. And whereas birds have feathers, reptiles have scales. It's good. So do musicians. Exactly. Now, this is quite. I don't know what you're going to think of this question. What pet grass snakes? What do they eat? Any ideas? What do they eat? Grass snakes are carnivorous, very much carnivorous. I suppose they're called grass snakes because you see them slither through the grass. I don't know, but they don't eat grass. We were given a choice. You can either feed it goldfish or mice. Now, if you were the owner of a grass snake, would you choose to feed it goldfish or mice? Mice. Why mice? We tried both. We tried a mouse, but I think that Monty Grass snake wasn't all that interested in the mouse. In fact, I think he made friends with it. So he had to eat goldfish in a little dish, and he'd watch it for ages until he'd go, bam! This big lump would go down through its body. What's the verb that you associate snakes with? Slither, exactly. What else do you think Monty could do? He was an absolute expert. Hissing, flicking out his tongue. He was a great swimmer. A great swimmer. What are the 4 strokes in swimming? What's that one? The crawl, what's that one? What's that one? What's that one? Monty didn't either do any of those. He had his own stroke. It was kind of... what else? Yeah, my relationship with Monty, I mean, I did love him. I loved him. I loved him a lot. I really did. I remember being very close to the snake, and I loved him so much. Don't forget, you're going to judge me, but don't forget, I was 8 years old. I loved him so much that I used to do this thing with him. I used to put him down my pajamas and then take him out here. I was kind of showing off. I mean, you've got to agree that that's completely and utterly pointless, isn't it? But I used to think it was quite funny, pajamas, t-shirt, jumper, to put him down here and to take him out here. And he seemed to be cool with it. And I used to show the visitors, look, and they'd go, ugh, what a horrible little boy. And I thought it was cool, I thought it was fun. Until one day, I put him in there, and he came out there, and he wasn't moving. And I held him, and I went and see my mum, Mummy, what's wrong with Monty? I think he's dead. And of course, I burst into tears, and it was a sad time. Pointless death. Completely pointless. He'd still be around today, I'm sure, would he not? So, do you know what I did to deal with this? I wrote a poem. Would you like me to recite my poem to you? Okay. My grass snake was green and black. He had lots of scales upon his back. So funny. He ate goldfish in a little dish. His tongue flicked out and then flicked in. He slithered through the grass, where in the sun he shone like brass. And when the end came to him, I buried him in a little tin. It was actually a little coffee tin. I remember coffee tins were quite important in my household back then. And coffee came in coffee tins. And I buried Monty in a coffee tin and buried him at the end of the garden, and he rested in peace. For 2 weeks. Until I got curious and dug him up to see how he was getting on. And he was fine. He was fine. I was a bit freaked out by rigor mortis, but there is, looking back, was it a pointless death? Yes, it was a pointless death, but some good came out of it. Sorry? My poem. And you know what else? This is absolutely true. My poem got published on the back of the school magazine. But there was a typo. And instead of saying, "and when the end came to him, I buried him in a little tin," they printed, "and when the end came to him, I buried him in a little bin." And that really upset me. It really upset me. Because it kind of, for me, it reinforced this idea that perhaps his life had been a waste and it was a pointless death. But I got the story, and I got the poem, and that's a story, actually, I said I'd never told anyone that, but it's a story, that's the kind of story that I like to share with my students. And if you take a teacher storytelling approach, you can create this repertoire of a number of anecdotes of your own, meaningful things from your own experience when you were a little girl, little boy, your student's age. Prepare it. This was kind of dialogic. I call this a dialogic story because it's very interactive. All these were questions I was asking my students, looking for these language learning opportunities, making use of them, taking advantage of them when I can. And you can build up a repertoire of anecdotes or stories which you've tried to make as pedagogical as you possibly can. What do you think of that?